There's a lot of outside pressure and misinformation and even intimidation by a small number of urban green left militants purporting to speak for First Nations.
As protesters continue to blockade supply routes in Canada, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney continues to attack them and the groups behind them.
It takes a special kind of arrogance to stomp on Indigenous communities and their futures like this, and to believe that Indigenous people should only be empowered when they happen to agree with someone else's political agenda.
But Kenney appears to have fallen into that trap himself, referring to one Indigenous guest on CTV's Power Play as a downtown Toronto professor, the other, one whose views are more in line with Kenney's, as an elected Indigenous leader, doubling down in his speech at the Indigenous Major Projects Conference a day later, calling Ellis Ross a, quote, brilliant man, while going on the offensive against Pam Palmater.
To the Pam Palmateers and all the rest of them, if you succeed in shutting down Canadian energy, all you will do is shift wealth from Canada and Canadian First Nations to OPEC dictatorships in Vladimir Putin's Russia.
It doesn't help him win the argument by really being disrespectful and condescending and even paternalistic towards me.
Still, Kenney has shown he has no time for what he calls southern urban Canadians, who he argues have no real understanding of the social and economic consequences of what's happening in many First Nation communities.
So my question for the Jane Fondas and Leo DiCaprios of the world who have flown up to Athabasca Chippewa Nation to say leave it in the ground and shut down the oil sands is, where are they now? The key partners in fighting back against this campaign must be our First Nations people. And that is exactly why.
In Calgary, Jonathan Muma, City News.